All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Have the Friday slate here for you guys. Kind of an interesting slate. We got some early news yesterday, a little bit of news just now, but somewhat of a straightforward slate-ish. But with that, that's kind of what also makes it difficult, I would say. What are your initial thoughts for today's slate?
I'm just excited for a new slate to start. I'm tilting hard after last night. I was telling you earlier. I mean, Embiid with the floor game for the first time in weeks, and then whoever I told not to play Harrison Barnes. Apologies. He had the best game of his entire career, and I faded him entirely. So, yeah, still pretty pissed off about last night. Just happy to turn the page, and as soon as these games tip off at 7:10 Eastern, hopefully I can get over myself and get over what happened yesterday.
I will say you've been pretty darn good with your conviction on Embiid this season. Like, spot on with it. Like,
Did I
so many
disappear or
slates.
did you disappear?
That was me. So I was telling you just how spot on you've been with Embiid this season. Like, there's been so many slates where I probably wasn't on him as much as I should, and you told the crowd, and I listened, and so you can have a one-off day with Embiid. That's perfectly fine, man.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, I've been over the field on him every single game, and yeah, I feel pretty good about it. But I mean, he's been ridiculous. He's the MVP. I can't take too much credit, but yeah, in a game where they pulled within 10 points in the fourth quarter, Nick Nurse decided to play I don't know. He wanted to be a hardo coach and not bring in Embiid, the MVP of the league, with 10 minutes left down 10. So whatever. We're on to the next.
Yes. Looking at this slate. So we did get news that Kyrie is going to be out tonight. So I'm just looking at Dallas right away. That is the first game as well. Going against Atlanta, that should be a pretty good matchup, a pretty appealing game. Trae Young, I think he's expected to play now. So going to be a little bit higher scoring. But looking at Dallas here, it seems like Luka is a little bit underpriced, honestly, at his price tag of 11.3 on DraftKings and even on FanDuel. And he is coming in pretty chalk from there. Josh Green a little bit. Jaden Hardy projected to get around 17 minutes. Exum is at a cheap price tag. Grant Williams potentially is in play. Very chalky on both sides. What are you doing with Dallas here? Because this is a lot of ownership, but I think it's probably correct.
Yeah, so not only is Kyrie out, but we're also without pretty much the entire front court other than Derek Lively. There's no Kleber, no Powell, or Maxime Prosper. So, yeah, it's going to get interesting. I mean, what we're seeing is chalk is after Luka is Josh Green. I think that makes sense. He hasn't had the highest usage rate. THJ is always my favorite second Mav to get to, even coming off the bench. I'll be pretty aggressive on him tonight. He is drawing ownership, though. But it's going to be interesting. I think we see Grant Williams slide into the starting lineup with Kleber and Powell both out. We know he's kind of boomer bust, but whenever he gets 25 or 30 minutes, he definitely has to be considered, especially at that DK price. So he's someone I want to get to. If Hardy were to suddenly get a start and win Jason Kidd's favor, he'd be very appealing. I don't think we could bank on that, though. And then Exum's tricky because he's working his way back from an injury. Before he went down with one of Luka or Kyrie out, he was the guy. But now it seems like they're kind of taking their time with him. He's not quite what he was before that injury. So maybe we get ahead of the curve here and get a little bit over the field on him, especially on DK, where he's showing 0% ownership. But at the same time, that's definitely like a high-risk play because there is a chance he continues to see limited minutes. I haven't heard anything in the coach speak. And then on the other side, we did just hear that Trae Young is going to have a minutes limit. What that means, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's tough not to love Dallas here. 247 point total as well.
And then, so with that Trae Young news, we got to see what that's going to mean for his minutes projection, because if he sits, maybe we're just looking at a little bit of Murray still. Like if Trae Young plays 25 minutes, Murray getting that extra bump for, 10 more minutes, like maybe we're looking at him, but everyone else is probably correctly priced there for Atlanta. I don't feel the need to game stack that. Oh, you can't hear me? That's fine. We'll go ahead and boot. No,
I don't know if it's a slide, but whatever you just said, I couldn't hear it. All the screens went black for me except for my little box
that's
here.
Fine. Yeah, I don't know. That's some of the slides. I don't get it. But I was just saying Atlanta, we probably don't need to get to besides maybe a little bit of Murray, but we'll jump into another injury situation that we had. We got news that Eric Gordon is expected to play today, which is great. Good stuff there. Charlotte, I guess that's a little bit of news. I don't know. I feel like it's noteworthy for sure. Gordon Hayward's still out. Kyle Lowry's out. Mark Williams is out. So Nick Richards, decent play. Maybe Brandon Miller's a good play. Like, they're all still a little bit too cheap, I would I would say, and a little bit too low owned, I would say as well. Like
Yeah.
Miller, I kind of like. PJ Washington is okay. They're all okay.
Yeah, Miller is priced up to 7K on FanDuel, a little bit tougher to get to, but he's actually been out playing Bridges, which is surprising. And yeah, you talk through all the injury news, but we got to remember Rozier got traded away as well. He's a big usage player for them, so that's really opening things up here. Houston's been a good defensive team. They've taken a slight step back, but still don't love the matchup. But at home, I do expect this to be a competitive game. I mean, I do really like Miller on VK. And then Richards is going to be in my center pool on both sides tonight. First half last game, he was going off. I think he had like
Hmm.
6 points before the half, fantasy points, and then he kind of fizzled out. I'm not sure why, but just knowing that he has that upside here, yeah, Sengun, good center, but I mean, definitely more dangerous on offense than defense, in my opinion. So I do think this is a matchup we can maybe exploit with someone like Nick Richards at his price, anyway.
I agree. He was one of the first players I got onto today as the day started. We'll see if that holds up as we go, kind of through the process and everything. But another injury spot that I think is worthwhile to mention is Toronto as well. So Joachim Poeltl's still out. Emmanuel Quickly is out. We got to remember, though, Siakam's no longer there. OG's no longer there. So it is tough to kind of figure out what to do with this situation. The field's trying to get to a little bit of Scotty Barnes, a little bit of RJ Barrett. I would say that's correct. Schroeder is a little bit lower owned as well. I would say everyone is slightly lower owned than I would have thought, given the injury news that we have. Maybe that's just because they're all okay GPP plays, not maybe lock and load plays.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, it's tough to know exactly what the starting lineup's going to look like. With Quickly out in the past, we've seen Barnes getting the nod here. I think that's what we're going to see again. Bruce Brown drawing decent ownership. We've yet to see him play over 25 minutes with Toronto, though, so I proceed with some caution on that one. But yeah, I don't mind Trent. He's risky, definitely, because he's scoring dependent, but whenever he slides into the starting lineup, he's a little bit too cheap for his upside. And yeah, generally, I agree with you. I think most of these guys are a bit too cheap. This is the type of matchup that Barnes should be able to thrive in. Obviously, the Clippers
Yeah.
have a good defense, but I mean, when he's doing ball handling, he's a different player. We saw that earlier in the season. He went for 60 fantasy points his last game. Not a great matchup, but here at home, I do think Scotty Barnes is worth getting to if you can. And then one last guy. I mean, I'm listing off all the Raptors, but RJ Barrett, he's seeing a ton of minutes here, and yeah, I mean, he's been a better player with the Raptors than he was with the Knicks, at least in terms of DFS. So I'm happy to get to him as well, even with the price increase.
And when we sort of at like DK value and FanDuel value, he's one of the better plays that we'll probably get on this slate. And it might feel a little bit ugly to click him, but I kind of feel like it's correct just with how much he's shooting the basketball. My only concern would be playing maybe both Barnes and Barrett together, specifically on FanDuel, where you are kind of paying a premium. And if they don't give a big spike, that would worry me. One player I want to ask you about, just specifically tonight, any love for Grady Dick by chance? Because he's like almost min-price on DraftKings, small forward and shooting guard eligible, so you got multiple position eligibility. Projected to get 16 minutes. Maybe he gets more than that. Maybe, with Quickly out, maybe he gets 20 minutes in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm playing like 15 or so lineups tonight. My contest selection is really weird just because I signed up to some things late, but I don't think I'm going to get to Grady. Obviously, a talented player. If he can get on the floor, he can make a bunch of shots.
Yeah.
But we just haven't really seen the upside from him. And I think even with Quickly out, I think Schroeder's going to take up a lot of minutes ahead of him. And they're very deep on the wing. Like they're giving minutes to guys like McDaniels, even Boucher, and I don't know. It's just tough for me to see him heavily involved here unless this game were to blow out. And that's not really something I want to try to project with a 7.5 point spread. This is the widest spread on the slate, though. I was joking in Discord earlier. I'm like, widest spread tonight, 7.5. How many blowouts are we going to have? 37 games. Because we're not supposed to have any, but lately, I mean,
so they all will.
It's been killing us lately. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't think I could get to Grady Dick. I think there's enough value, especially coming out of Dallas, that it's probably not necessary.
I think that's fair. Porter at 4K and 4.6, slightly appealing as ownership, but not someone I think we need to get to as well. But all interesting GPP plays. Let's see here. I don't think there's like too much other injury news. I mean, a little bit of Houston, but we haven't got that news just yet. We're still waiting on it. A lot of their role players are questionable or maybe sitting. Jabari Smith, Tate. If they both sit, probably.
Smith's out, Tate's in. I think we just got that news right when we went live. So
okay. So here, let me refresh this and see. That is newsworthy then. So lastly, we kind of just loaded up on Sengun. He's in another good matchup here. Is that something we're trying to do again?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get to him, I do like him. As much as we like Richards for fantasy reasons, he's
Yeah.
not anything we need to necessarily worry about defensively. Then shout out to Jayhawk in Discord. The last thing I saw before I jumped on the live was we may have to play Dusty Jeff Green tonight. And yeah, good old Uncle Jeff could slide in the starting lineup here.
Yeah.
I actually trust his minutes more than Jay Sean Tate. And I have to look this up, but I feel like he's been the better fantasy point per minute producer compared to Jay Sean Tate. So I don't know. It should help Sengun. The price on DK does feel too cheap. But guys like Van Fleet and Green in the backcourt, I mean, it's not a huge boost for them, but it makes me like them even more. They both feel a little bit too cheap. So, yeah, I'm happy to get to some Houston here. Again, good matchup against the Hornets, who just haven't been great defensively.
No. And if anything, this kind of helps the game stay close. So some of those Hornets that we maybe were thinking about being on are still good plays.
Absolutely.
So let's see here. Do we have any questions coming in? Yeah, so with Toronto, I don't think we have the confirmed starting lineup. Do you have what you're projected to see? Because, again, I'm looking at two different sites seeing two different things.
My guess is Schroeder comes off the bench. That's like me thinking like 70-30, like if I'm assigning odds to it. We've just seen that consistently throughout the season, even with the point guard out, that they've been pulling him in off the bench, and it's rare he gets over 30 minutes. So I think they continue to go with Barnes at point guard, then probably Trent shooting guard. They can play Brown on the wing. And they're going to be pretty small here. But yeah,
would that make, if he does start, would that actually make you like Scotty Barnes a little less? Because then Barnes probably becomes the 4 if he doesn't start at point.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if Schroeder starts, you mean, then I would like him slightly less. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
my biggest worry with, because Scotty Barnes should be a good play, but if Dennis starts, then it's like, oh boy, that's a whole different element, and then Schroeder becomes a better play as well. So
absolutely.
I think that's news I'm definitely looking for tonight for sure.
I agree.
Let's see here. Luka or Van Fleet? Yahoo. We had a Yahoo question. Awesome. Both?
Like, yeah, I mean, if you could fit both, I'd have to look at the prices. Van Fleet is 35, Luka's 59. Van Fleet's the better play point per dollars according to the model, but honestly, if you could fit Luka, and usually it's easy to fit studs on Yahoo because there's a lot of $10 guys. Luka's my favorite play on the slate by far. He rates above Giannis in OF index, but no one else is really close. So if you can fit Luka, I'd get to Luka.
I mean, he should be able to. Gary Trent Jr.'s min price. Probably can play Nembhard then. Mason Plumlee's min price. Derek Lively's close to him. I mean, you could probably make
Grant
both
Williams,
of them work then.
There's a bunch. Conchar's too cheap. Kennard's still too cheap. Yeah, there's a lot of cheap guys over on Yahoo.
Man, I hate looking at that because I just want to.
I know, it makes me want to sign up, but I'm always scrambling to get my lineups in as is. I can't add another
exactly. You know, that was my first GPP one was actually on Yahoo and NBA.
Hell yeah. No, I love it. They used to run those like management free contests, and I'd put lineups in those every single day.
Exactly.
A couple years removed from that.
Let's get Junior's question here as well, and then we'll just go into position by position breakdown. So any value plays that are must plays. Grant Williams to me feels that way on DraftKings. That's really it for must plays as it sits right now for me.
Yeah, it's tough to say one guy is the must play. I think Williams on DK does make sense. I think you want a piece of the Dallas value though on FanDuel as well, whether it be Green or I mean, it's probably Josh Green at his price on both sites. Like, I don't love the usage for him though. Like, I really do like THJ. I know he's a little bit more expensive. Can't really call him value, but I definitely trust Hardaway Jr. more. Especially in a matchup like this where they're going to be running and gunning all game, very high total. The total's climbing too. So yeah, I like Hardaway Jr. Can't call him value. But yeah, Grant Williams on DK. I'd say Josh Green on both sides is kind of borderline must play his value as well.
Yeah, fair. So let's go ahead and jump on and get into the point guards and shooting guards for tonight's slate. I am sorted by DK main slate only. I didn't check to see, is the FanDuel slate exactly the same tonight, or is it a little different?
No, they're the same. They both just cut off that Blazers Spurs game, which is fine with me. Yeah.
Today it is.
Yeah, today it is. Like, yeah, exactly.
But sorted by OF index right now, Luka's kind of the obvious pay at play with Kyrie out. Very cheap on both sides, arguably. I mean, maybe not on FanDuel, but still probably will be in the winning lineup. Then you got SGA, Mitchell, Booker, Young, and then Scotty Barnes is popping up in there. James Harden feels a little bit too cheap. Damian Lillard feels a little bit too cheap, and RJ Barrett. And then for that matter, Paul George is a decent play. Brandon Ingram's a decent play, especially if Zion's ruled out. And that's another headache I don't want to have to deal with because then all the Pelican players become good plays. So besides Luka, given the pricing that we have, who else or do you see another starting point guard wise? And I know you play more on FanDuel, so maybe more on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about both sides, but Nemhard on both sides I like a lot, actually. Hasn't flashed a huge upside, but he's playing way more minutes than McConnell. Last night, McConnell was over 30% owned on FanDuel, and that's the reason I even cashed the few lineups that I did. I didn't have any McConnell. Coming off the bench, he's only playing around 21 minutes. We see Nemhard pushing 30, so I like him a lot. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, as long as Garland and Mobley are out, I'm going to keep going back to Donovan Mitchell. Milwaukee, not great against guards. They
Hey,
just faced off recently, right?
they
Um,
might not be though. They might be better. I think they will
they're
be. I
getting
really
yeah,
do.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I think yeah, they're going to adjust, especially with Doc there. I mean, if Doc is going to do anything, it's going to be sure of what they're doing on defense.
Mhm.
But I still like Mitchell, just given the very
Yes.
high usage rate, the reasonable ownership. I already mentioned Nemhard. And one piece of injury news I guess we both missed is that Paul George is questionable. If
Yeah.
he's out, James Harden's going to look great here. 8,500 on FanDuel, 8,200 on DK. That's just going to be too cheap for his upside. We could talk about Kawhi when we get to forward. But also Russ Westbrook, more so if George is out. But with Zubats out, he's actually been seeing a few extra minutes a game. I don't mind maybe mixing in a little bit of Russ. Definitely risky. And then one guy I'll go back to here is Luke Kennard. He missed last game, and I think that's the only reason his ownership is down, which is kind of a weird thing to say because his price
Mhm.
hasn't moved at all. He's running the point there, pretty high usage rate, reasonable price, playing 30 plus minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Luke Kennard as well as kind of a lower mid range play.
To your point, well, I'll start with Luke Kennard there. Yeah, that's a good call out. Finally got double digit shot attempts up, and that had been a pain. 13 three balls, which if we can get 10 three balls from him, that'd be pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
But the Clippers, I like the Clippers a lot tonight. James Harden as price tag is already someone I was curious about playing, very interested in playing, I should say.
Mhm.
Given the matchup with Toronto, like they got worse defensively. And maybe quick. I don't know. I was going to say maybe quickly being out helps them, but I really don't think so.
Yeah.
I think already getting there is a good call.
Yeah, you could play them even with Georgian, I think.
Yeah. Then let's see. I know we were getting some values. We can start by value real quick. So RJ Barrett kind of is one that pops up value wise, but let's go a little bit lower. Like Gary Trent Jr., I feel like it's a fine shoulder shrug play if you end up on him. Sure. Same
Make
thing
sure he
with Beasley.
starts. Yeah, yeah. I don't mean to cut you off, but
No, no.
the thing with Trent is when he comes off the bench, man, like I don't know, he doesn't ever seem to get the minutes you want out of him. But I do project him to start. We should have that lineup soon. But yeah,
Yeah.
when he's gonna play 30 minutes, definitely get this in Gary.
No, I think yeah, that's fair. And then Beasley is kind of the same play, just not as sexy, not as good, probably not as safe. Terrence Mann's kind of popping up again. If maybe Paul George sits, that'd be a good value play to be on. But that's really it in terms of like cheap plays we could be on to for salary relief.
Yeah, there is one other on DK, and I know I'm playing more on FanDuel tonight, but Conchar is
Mhm.
only 4,400 on DK. I already mentioned Kennard, but that's too cheap for him, kind of given what he's been doing lately.
Mhm.
Yeah, just knowing he's going to play over 30 minutes, he's going to get the start here. I know Orlando has a good defense. I know it's one of the lower total games, but just point per dollar, he does make a lot of sense to me, especially at low
Yeah.
ownership. Only 11% owned for 4,400 Conchar. I don't think it's crazy to play him on FanDuel at 56. Like, not a priority at all. Definitely a high risk play, but almost 1K cheaper on DK, only 10% owned. He makes a lot of sense.
And we got the chat telling us that Paul George is in, but that he might have a minutes restriction as well. So that's kind of I don't know why you'd be in and have a minutes restriction, but we'll get more news as that comes in. But Pippen as a play, so we got a question about Pippen again tonight. I would imagine he's not going to get run tonight, simply because Luke Kennard's back.
Yep, yep. That's my guess as well. I mean, he played so well. Maybe he worked his way into some minutes, but I don't think it's a risk I'm trying to take here necessarily. Again,
Mhm.
Kennard was out last game, and I think that's major. So, yeah, with
They
Kennard
have
back,
done
I just
weird.
keep it there. Yeah,
They
they're
have
good.
done weird stuff with the lineup though, so like it wouldn't be shocking to see him get minutes. But it's kind of like Utah, where like last night, Colin Sexton randomly only got 17 minutes. Like that, something like that could usually happen with
Ugh.
Memphis as well.
Yeah, last night, that's another thing that killed me.
Yeah,
Fontecchio was playing lights out, and then they decided to give Kelly Olynyk all the run in the world as chalk. And oh
that was
man,
a,
yeah,
there's been some weird days in NBA. There really has.
yeah, man. I need just things to go as we project them for one slate. I think I'd be pretty happy.
We're at that portion of the season where it doesn't.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and get into the small forward, power forwards now. So just the forwards in general. We already mentioned RJ Barrett a little bit, Grant Williams, but Chris Middleton is popping up as a good value on DraftKings. Dylan Brooks as well, and then Derrick Jones Jr. Kind of three plays that I don't think people would typically want to end up on, but given Houston's situation where a lot of their secondary players are banged up or out, Chris Middleton had a good game against Cleveland last time out, is super cheap, not pulling in any ownership. And then Derrick Jones Jr. is someone that I would argue is also very cheap in a game you want to be targeting. It's a cheap way to get some exposure to that. So do you like any of those three plays kind of given their pricing?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Middleton on DK. Shocked he's not more popular. 6'3" is just too cheap. Like 75 on FanDuel. A little bit too expensive, but I mean, at that price on DK, I don't know how you don't like him. Then, yeah, Derrick Jones Jr. at his ownership on DK, he's a logical pivot if you don't want to get too heavy on someone like Jeff Green or Grant Williams. We have seen Jones kind of spike for upside from time to time. Hasn't been taking many shots lately, but who's to say that he won't here against Atlanta? You have to imagine they're going to try to key it on Luka. It's not going to be enough for me to not play a ton of Luca, but yeah, I think Jones could see some open looks here, which would obviously boost his upside. And then I will add one more guy to this mix before I hand it back over to
Yeah.
you. We already talked about Brandon Miller a little bit. He also has guard eligibility on DK, but I would consider him as a tournament play on FanDuel. And then the 6,300, same price as Middleton over on DK. I mean, both these guys are excellent. They're both under-owned in my opinion. So, yeah, you can kind of live in that lower mid-range. I think a lot at forward tonight and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, and just to go in a little bit more with Brandon Miller, he has like the data said in a small sample size that with Terry Rozier off the court, he was someone that would benefit, and with Gordon Hayward out as well. Sorry, but now it almost seems definitive that that is the case after four straight really good games. And sure, could he have a cold game going against Houston? Sure, but he had good games against Minnesota and Philly, two teams that you typically wouldn't want to target as well. And so I'm not too worried about the matchup with Houston either.
I agree.
But sorting it by OF index in terms of top payout plays. So we got Giannis there. We got Kawhi. Kawhi probably easily becomes, I shouldn't say easily, but with the Paul George minutes restriction stuff, is he someone we want to get to a little bit more? Again, I think this is a good matchup. And then Scotty Barnes, point guard, small forward eligible. Like, do we want to get some more exposure to that game if maybe PG 13 is going to be a little bit minutes limit?
I mean, I don't know that we need to force the game, generally
Yeah.
speaking, necessarily, unless Toronto rolls out some weird lineup where they have a couple of really cheap guys or something like
Mhm.
that. But I already liked Kawhi here, and I'm going to continue to like him. He's too low owned on both sites. 7% on DK. Maybe that comes up a little bit with this news. 18 on FanDuel. But yeah, his price hasn't budged. He's still sub 9K. He's been as consistent, if not more consistent, than Harden or George, especially recently. So definitely happy to get to Kawhi here. And yeah, man, once again, like Giannis is probably too low owned. Like we're loading up
Yeah.
on Luca tonight, and I think he's the better play. But in this exact same matchup, I mean, he went for over 60. Um, and yeah, I mean, he's shown time and time again. Whenever you get Giannis in a competitive game, and he's actually going to play like 35 to 38 minutes, his ceiling is as high as anyone in the league. So I'm happy to get to Giannis here. Um, Allen's a good defender. I like Allen here. We'll talk about when he gets to when we get to center, but at the same
Yeah.
time, no Mobley. That's definitely been benefiting opponents against this Cleveland team. So yeah, love Giannis, love Kawhi as a way pay up. And then, yeah, I'm going to throw in Siakam into this
Yeah.
mix here as well. I mean, 9% owned on DK at 7,500. He finally had a really big game since the trade, which was good to see. Not the best matchup here against Phoenix, but at the same time, I think it's one that he's probably going to continue to lead the team in usage in, at least until Halliburton comes back. Should play over 30 minutes. If this game is going to stay close, Vegas seems to think it will. He's probably going to be a big part of that. So I do like Siakam a lot here as well. A little bit too cheap for what I think he's capable of. And 22% owned on FanDuel, but he's 200 more over there. So you're getting him a little bit cheaper on DK, and he's less than 10%. Like, that screams good play on DK for me there as well.
Yeah. With Siakam, I'm really shocked. I was just looking at his minutes. He hasn't gotten more than 33 minutes since he's been there, or like we only have him projected to get 33 minutes. Like that's confusing to me. Like, I don't know. I would have imagined he would be getting heavier minutes. Is that, I don't know, does that concern you that like he's only getting like 30 minutes, or is that something that's just like game flow kind of just been happening?
I mean, it's kind of baked into the price. I think
Yeah.
maybe we could see him get more run in a competitive game.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a triple double last game.
He did.
He looked really damn good. So yeah, I just have no issue going there at the price. Maybe that's why he's a little bit cheaper than he should be.
Mhm.
One other piece of news I want to bring up while we're on forwards. I
Yeah.
think Zion's questionable. I don't know that we
He
got
is.
that news yet. Yeah, so if he's in, I think he's fine in tournaments, still sub 8K. But if he's out, we're gonna have to love Brandon Ingram here, I think.
Yeah. So let's see. He was kind of a late addition to the injury reports, which is always a bad sign. So yeah, I think Ingram becomes a better play. I think McCollum becomes a extremely safe play. The question to me, and it always kind of becomes this, is like, what do we do with Herbert Jones and Larry Nance for that matter if Zion's out?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely like Herbert Jones more. He's probably going to start here regardless, even
Mhm.
if Zion's in. Like, he's a fine kind of last piece in. Your Harrison Barnes type guy who could go for
Yeah.
50 on a random night, but most nights isn't getting you even 20. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to be a little bit more appealing if Zion's out. And then Nance, I don't know how much it's going to affect him if Zion's out. They haven't been playing too many minutes of him next to Joel like they
Yeah.
were earlier in the season. But yeah, I mean, the DK price on Nance tonight is
Gosh.
certainly too low, but he's center only over there now, which is
Hmm.
unfortunate.
Yep. That's yeah. So we'll get into him into a second, but yeah, to me, like, I'm probably looking at the Clippers as I'm probably going fair and balanced, which doesn't make me feel good because I probably won't get to Luka that much. And I was kind of mentioning to you prior to the video 2 nights ago, I was not able to be around before lineup lock or right up until lineup lock. So I didn't do that many lineups. If I had just done more lineups, I think I would have had the correct combination to take down GPP. I came somewhat close, like a top 12 lineup, and it's just
Mhm.
those little
Yeah, you had
differences.
all the right players, but not in the right
Yes.
lineup. Yeah, all right,
Mhm.
man. You're preaching to
And
the
so
choir.
yes. And so like that's kind of how I'm feeling a little bit tonight. Like it would have been switching to Luca a little bit. And that's how it's feeling tonight, where I think fair and balanced is super easy to make a good build. But obviously if you have Luca in there, you're securing a better lineup path.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, while we are on forwards, I do think
Yeah.
Grant Williams on DK is really good chalk.
Yeah.
He's going to allow you to fit someone like Luka or Giannis, or even if you're going balanced, you could fit an extra 8 to 9K player in there with someone like Grant Williams. And yeah, maybe he doesn't go off, but at 3,400, you don't need all that much from him. To score well, and then I guess the pivot is going to be Jeff Green. If you want to go there for
Yeah.
Houston, just make sure he's starting. We have seen him flash upside on occasion. Usually not a high usage player though. But last game against Portland, he played 38 minutes. Did that game go to OT or something? That seems insane to me.
Um,
I don't know that
I
it
don't know.
did.
They were shorthanded for sure.
Yeah, they were even more shorthanded because Tate was out as well, so he's
Yep.
probably not going to play 38.
No.
But yeah, I mean, if you're MMEing and you don't want to go 100% Grant Williams, I don't blame you. And you're looking for direct pivots. I mean, Green's going to make some sense. Okoro's price is way down on DK. I know
Yeah.
Levert's back, but in a decent matchup here against Milwaukee, 3,700 for him. I don't mind him as a pivot again. Not something I'm excited to get to. But yeah, I mean, if you're just looking to kind of balance out the exposures of some of your value plays, I don't mind mixing him in as well.
And then last kind of question here on the forward. So Vince Williams had been someone I feel like we Occupy Fantasy have been on a little bit more than the field. Is
Mhm.
this a spot where we're probably getting off of him? Like 2% owned, 3% owned. He projected to get 34 minutes. Bad matchup against Orlando. Price is starting to come up. Luke Kennard's back, and so I just want to touch on him.
Yeah, I mean, 6,500 feels about right for him on DK. Again,
Yeah,
we don't love the total here on a slate that's loaded with high total games, but he has been leading the team in usage. He's probably going to take more shots than anyone else on the floor, Luke Kennard included. I don't mind mixing him in. Wouldn't call him a core player or anything like that, but I don't know. If you're landing on him, I don't think it's crazy. There's just
yeah,
a lot. Like, I'd rather maybe get to Middleton or Miller. Like, we're
yeah.
pretty much priced the same. But Williams is not too far behind them, in my opinion. He's probably going to be even lower owned. But
You're right. That's
yeah,
a good call, though. Miller and Middleton probably the same exact outcome. Like,
yeah.
and more likely to maybe have a slightly higher ceiling. So that makes sense. Um, let's see. We got any questions here? Um, Here we go. We just got one coming in. So we'll do these two. Is Trent Jr. a must play on Yahoo? Let's see here for you.
Is he
Um,
$10?
I'm guessing. Yeah, but Andrew Nembhard's better. I would say. I don't know about better, but about the same.
Yeah, I mean, if he was min price on DK or FanDuel, he'd be a must play if he's starting. But on Yahoo, you have so many guys to choose from in that range. If you're only playing one lineup, I'd play him. But if you're playing a few, I don't think you have to have him in everything. Like, we have seen floor games out of him. He is scoring dependent. If his shot's not falling, I mean, it's very easy. We see a floor come out of him. He has been shooting the ball well. But yeah, I mean, pretty tough matchup against the Clippers. It's not like the defense is going to be keying in on him or anything. But yeah, I like him. Like, if you're only playing a lineup or two, I'd have him in there. But if you're like putting a bunch in, yeah, don't feel like you need 100% exposure.
Then we got a question coming in from Emma McCollum or Williams. So to me, McCollum feels super safe if Zion's out, but we're waiting on that news.
Yeah, I would say if Zion's out, go to McCollum, and then I mean they're in the same game, so you will have the news. And
That's
then if
true.
Zion's in, just go to Jalen Williams because Williams has been more consistent compared to
Yeah.
McCollum lately. So yeah,
I like that take. And then this is funny. So Banchero versus Memphis. Banchero is due. Well, Banchero was going off when Wagner was
Wagner
out,
was
so
out.
I don't know if that's exactly true, but I mean,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I think he's still a little bit overpriced. Banchero's awesome, very talented player, but he's sharing usage with Franz again. Those big games where he was going over 50 fantasy points, pushing 60 some nights, those all came with Franz out. If you go through the games and check out what was happening at that time, so yeah, with Franz back, I think his ceiling, like top ceiling, is probably around 50 points. Um, and yeah, it's a low total matchup. I don't mind him here, but as long as Wagner's there, I mean, all the guards are healthy too. We had Fultz out for a while, but Fultz, Suggs, and Anthony are all healthy now. This is as healthy as the Magic have been all season. So yes, Banchero is probably the most talented player on the floor there, but I don't know that he's getting enough looks to really justify the price tag going over 8K right now. So I don't love it. If you want to roll the dice on him, sure, he has the upside, but the higher ceiling games for him have all come with Franz Wagner out. So just keep that in mind.
So I feel like I got a decent pivot here, specifically for DraftKings. Like at that price tag, I know they're different positions, but like you got Sangoon there, you got Siakam there. Like to me, those are better plays, a little bit more chalk, but even like Jared Allen's a little bit cheaper than that. Like those players to me tonight have the same ceiling, but a little bit cheaper, a little bit better plays. So, but yeah,
Totally.
looking at centers, is Sangoon a starting point for you? I think that's a leadoff question, and if not, who if there is anyone, who is it?
Yeah, so I think on DK he is at 8,600. I do like him a lot. There's a lot of centers I actually like tonight, though. So Sengun, love him. If you're getting to him, feel good about it. Don't blame you at all. I went to Jared Allen against Milwaukee last game. He pretty much got to value. He was
Mhm.
playing terribly, and he still got there. Like he's had some big games against the Bucks in the past. I'm fine going back to him. One value center I find myself landing on, and maybe this kills me tonight. Is going to be Wendell Carter Jr. Only 5,700 on DK. No one seems to be rostering him. He's a little bit more expensive on FanDuel. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing him playing around 30 minutes per night now. It seems like Goga is kind of almost an afterthought for them. I really like Wendell Carter here, mostly just because of the ownership. Nick Richards, priced similarly. These are two guys like in the lower half that I'm going to be heavy on, mostly because I am paying up for a ton of Luka. I
Mhm.
do want to get to a lot of Giannis at power forward, and in order to do that, it's tough to pay up at center. But yeah, if you're paying up at center, I love Sengun. I would probably rank Jared Allen a little bit behind him. Those are probably my two favorites in terms of raw points. But yeah, I think I like to live in that lower mid range tonight, which is going to have me on a lot of guys like Carter Jr., Nick Richards. There's probably a few others you can mix into that group, but those two are
Yeah.
definitely standing out to me as things stand right now.
One that I like that's a little bit lower price is actually Mason Plumlee, and I personally have been wanting to target this matchup against Toronto. I think it's going to be a good source for DFS production in the second half with those trades that they made, and if he's going to get us 22 or so minutes, I think at that price tag, definitely a good price tag. And then same thing with like Larry Nance, if he's going to be getting 20 minutes in this matchup, very high game total 240. Like to me, that's interesting. I can get behind that. Like those are two plays where I'm probably not going out of my way to make it, but if
Yeah.
I'm closing out my build, I'm more than happy to end up on either one of them.
No, I totally agree. And the scary thing about the Clippers centers is the minutes. I mean, they could go
Mhm.
small here against Toronto. Porter's going to get some run, but after that, you're going to see Thad Young, who's really just a forward. So yeah, maybe they play a little bit smaller than usual tonight.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm fine getting the Plumlee. I like Nance. You know, I'm a fan of his. As long as he's playing 20 minutes, he has upside. He had a huge game last time out. I didn't have any of them, of course. But yeah, the first slate I didn't play him. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm fine getting to those guys as punts for sure. And like I said, I mean, we really want to prioritize some of these guards. We have Luca. We also have Mitchell. We have SGA on the slate. They're all very appealing to me. And then Giannis is too low owned. I'm gonna try
Yeah.
to find ways to get to him. So it is tough to pay up for a chalky Sengun as much as I do like him here.
Yeah. And then lastly, we got to give a call out to Brooke Lopez, who's popping up as a great value again in the model. Only 3% owned going against Cleveland. Um, I need to see what he did last game against them. I don't think he did well off the top of my head, only 27. But we have seen time in and time again, like that's not even terrible production. But 2 games against Cleveland now recently, 27 and 25. But other games he has went off. So I don't. He's a decent GPP
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, I'd mix him in. You could definitely have him in the pool. I saw someone else call out Miles Turner. I don't mind him at his price. Again, I don't know. His minutes have been a little bit inconsistent. I can't really wrap my head around it. It seems like
Mhm.
Carlisle likes to get Jackson and Smith involved at random times. Again, can't read that guy's mind. Never will be able to. But in a high total game at low ownership at a reasonable price, he's fine. You have Nurkic on the other side. It's been a long time since we've seen him spiking upside. I'd rather go to Turner of those two, but again, there's just a lot
Mhm.
of good center plays in the 6K range. I think that's where I'm most comfortable tonight. Again, just because I'm really paying up for Luca a lot.
Yeah. So with that, I think we should get into kind of the first look build, and that's the question on the night. It's do we pay up for Luca? And I would say we tried to, and then figure it out from there. Is that fair with you?
Yes, yes, I want Luca.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he just feels so cheap, especially on DraftKings. Maybe on FanDuel, it's more of a thought, but
Yeah,
too cheap here.
yeah.
And then who would you say is your next favorite play? We can sort it by the model as well. Like Grant Williams, probably value wise, feels like a starting point. But is there
Yeah,
anyone else?
yeah. It's not like I'm in love with the Grant Williams play, but I
Yeah.
think as far as like guys sub 3.5, he makes the most sense. So yeah, let's go ahead and plug him in.
And I know in my head right now, it's kind of spinning. I'm like Jeff Green, Grant Williams, Larry Nance, and then I can fit Giannis and Luca in a build. But we're not going to do that right now.
If you
But
can, I mean, damn. I was
uh,
trying to do it on FanDuel earlier, and even over there, where pricing's usually softer, it was tough, tough. But
I hear you.
it's not. If you can do it, man, I do like
I mean, I'll just rapid fire it real quick. I don't want this to be the actual first look build,
it.
but it's plausible. Like
Yeah, we'd
Jeff
have to go
Green,
Green. I think maybe like Conchar is another guy around 4K. I don't mind Trent.
that's true. That
Uh,
really all those guys. I
all these
mean,
4K guys. Yeah,
Trent's fine. I'll go Nance for now because he's a little bit too cheap, I think. And then Giannis at the 4. Like it's easy. We have 5.9 left over with 2 positions to fill. Like it's definitely plausible tonight.
yeah, and I mean, you need a lot of bad players to have good games for that to work
Mhm.
out. But I mean, we have seen single digits in winning lineups a lot this season, and most of
Mhm.
those feature the top high end plays. So I mean, it's not a crazy build.
I would say the tough part about giving a first look build today is the fact that we don't know for sure what's going to happen with the Pelicans. Like if Zion sits, to me, the build becomes much more simple. Like we're going Ingram at the small forward, we're going CJ McCollum. Is he just point guard eligible now? He is, so
Yeah,
whatever.
that's fine.
Then maybe it's a decision, but like that becomes much more simple to me, build process wise. The question becomes like, do we go Val? Do we go Herbert Jones? But that's kind of the
Yeah.
tough part.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to call any of those guys priorities until we get the Zion news.
Mhm.
I mean, Ingram and McCollum would both be priorities if he is out. But yeah, I mean, I guess going back to like our generic builds that we have
Mhm.
going.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I mean, I like Miller or Middleton or both.
I was going to say both. So yeah, let's just do
Yeah.
that. Because they're too cheap just at their price and it makes a lot work. And they're both plays that could go for 40 tonight. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they probably will hit value.
Yep. And then maybe take your. Actually, Sengun is damn good over there if we can fit him.
Yeah, we just got to take Sengun there for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
But then we're left with like 4.7, which not terrible. Like we do have enough okay plays.
Trent
It's just,
probably or Conchar, one of those two.
do you like one of them better than the other?
I mean, at the ownership, I lean Conchar, but Trent is like the logical play that we should be putting in a dummy build, I think.
I'll do that. What about Dennis though? Because he's pretty cheap as well. He's like, if I'm playing Gary Trent as price tag, I might as well just play Schroeder there, where he's a little bit higher priced.
Yeah, I mean, he's higher priced, and I don't know that he plays as many minutes, which is
Yeah,
scary. Like, if Schroeder starts, definitely, 100%. But if Schroeder comes off the bench, I'm like, I don't know. I'd
let's
almost rather chase the points with Trent if,
yeah,
I don't
let's
know.
see. I want to see the minutes projection. So Trent 30, Dennis 29.8. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess if that's what we're expecting, go Schroeder.
no, the data likes Trent way better. So we're gonna go Trent.
Okay.
I apologize. I
No,
wasted a
you're
lot of
good.
time just
No, you're good. You're good. Okay.
then 4.6 left over. I mean, we could go Jeff Green. Let's just try to find a sub like 4K ish play just to plug in there.
Yeah, it's not Green. I keep saying Conchar. Maybe he's the guy. If he's
Mhm.
starting.
Man could be okay.
If George is in. I don't
Yes.
know that I want to get him there.
Yeah.
Herb
Yeah, we'll go counter.
Jones. Yeah,
Go
Conchar's
counter.
good.
I only made you say it like 5 times. So that's fine.
It's all good.
And then 4.9 left over. Probably going to be a shoulder shrug play here. Anika's kind of fine. Murphy would be a decent play if Zion's out. Herbert Jones, decent. Martin's
Yeah.
okay. A lot of okay plays. Where's Dallas? Any Dallas value?
Oh.
Jones?
Yeah, I don't mind Jones or the chalky green if you think we're different enough. But yeah, either
Yeah.
way, I think we're good.
I think that's fair. That's a good first look build. So, yeah, guys, we'll be finishing up here shortly. So, if you have any questions, get those in. We did just get one coming in from Junior. So, if Zion is out, does that help J-Val? And I think that's a fair question. I don't know if we've seen it exactly enough with the current roster to know for sure, but I would just assume it does a little bit.
Yeah, he probably sees a little bit more usage. It's not like he's going to play extra minutes though. Like he's pretty much
Mhm.
capped around 26, and I don't know. It might slightly, but not majorly. If that makes sense, it
Yeah.
definitely boosts the other guys more. Ingram, then McCollum, then probably Herbert, then probably
Yeah.
Valanciunas, and it's just like a little bit extra rebounding and usage with that starting unit. I don't think he's going to see more minutes.
Yeah. I know when Nance was out, the answer would have been yes, but
Oh
we
yeah,
just
yeah.
haven't seen this in some time. But yeah, it doesn't seem like we have any kind of final questions coming in. I'll just do another data refresh, seeing if we got any more news coming in that adjusted it. Ownership wise, it's looking like Luka, Grant Williams. Josh Green was someone that we probably could have played, to your point, as chalk, but we would have had to adjust it. Tim Hardaway Jr. is now becoming more chalk. Okoro, people are going there for value. Interesting.
Hmm. I mean, he's cheap and he's starting, which is often enough for people to get to a guy. I don't mind him. I mentioned him as like an ownership pivot, but if he's going to be
Yeah.
popular, I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah. Interesting. So, yeah, I think that'll do it. Oh man, I gotta ask though, real quick. Thad Young, he's 13% owned, sub 4K. See someone that we can look at all tonight.
Yeah, you could mix them in. You can't trust him coming off a good game, but again, the Clippers could maybe play small here where Porter's not as relied on. He's definitely coming off the bench ahead of Chris Boucher, so I don't mind that Young. But at the same time, it's definitely like a high risk type play. His minutes have been inconsistent.
Mm-hmm. All right, but everyone, that is going to do it for us. Make sure to jump on into the Discord chat. We'll be going live there very shortly. Be in here again tomorrow, same time. And good luck.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.